Hey, discerning listeners, Love is Blind. Let's watch and see what comes out of my face.
Also try to juggle my own emotions, because I don't know if one day you're going to tell me yes and one day you're going to tell me no.
Okay, so that is a ball lobbed right across the plate, right in the strike zone, no spin, easy to hit. Let's see what Stacy does. But before that, I just want to highlight that this statement from him really is down the middle of my hypothesis and what's happening in the relationship, that he's walking around in this constant state of, she doesn't want to be with me. If she treats him even somewhat the way that she treats him on camera, off camera, then it wouldn't be irrational for him to believe that she not only doesn't want to be with him, but she hates him, that she thinks that he's dirt. Which then you're thinking, well, so was that Izzy's plan? Was I will escape the dunce cap or the seat that is designated for the piece of shit, because I feel like Stacy's dreaming that I'm going to put Johnny in that seat, and then we can both look at Johnny. See, Stacy, I'm not the piece of shit. Johnny's the piece of shit. But anyway, this is a lot will be said in this moment, because if you even remotely love someone, and or you love someone and you have the ability to have empathy and compassion, even a shred of it, then there will be something nice that will come out of her mouth right now. He's crying, he's trying.
Why do you think that is?
Why do you think that is? Let's rewind.
Because I don't know if one day you're going to tell me yes and one day you're going to tell me no.
Why do you think that is?
My goodness. Even if you don't want to be with him, like, there's so many options there. She could have said, "Oh, well, I don't want you to feel that way," or, "No. I'm just saying, I just don't really. I just want you to be nicer when you come home from work," or there's just all these different ways she could have responded instead of, "Why do you?" Now, okay, there is we don't see. They're talking about something that's off camera, so there's a world in which that all is reasonable or semi-reasonable, what she's saying, that because she's basically saying the reason why you are in constant anxiety about wanting to be with me, which, by the way, earlier I was saying that I want you to constantly worry about me leaving you, and we're not talking about Johnny now, but anyway, so the reason why you are constantly worried about me saying no at the altar is because I'm giving you a vibe of rejection, because you don't give to me, you don't rub my feet, and you don't cook for me. So it's actually a good thing that you're feeling that way, because you're actually receiving my communication, or it's a natural consequence for your bad boyfriend behavior. That sounds like what she's saying, right? So it's possible that that's actually happening, and she's just going about it in maybe a little bit of a mean way, but there's reasonableness to it. But there's another possibility that he's been just really trying to accommodate and really trying to do the right thing. He might even feel like, given her disdain for him, that he is staying out of her way because he doesn't want to cause her to feel more disdain for him. And then now she's saying, well, you not approaching me is why I disdain you even more, when he's thinking, but when I did approach you at times, you reject, I don't know. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but if it's in that ballpark, yikes.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I don't know. Sometimes you make me feel like what I do is not good enough all the time.
Well, that's literally what she's saying. So, yeah. Now, again, there's a possibility that she is somewhat reasonable, but there's a chance that she's not. And this is just a part of her relational traumas and her characterological issue that's leading her to distort or feel the need to attack people or something. And it's resulting in him feeling like he's never good enough.
You make me feel like I'm not enough for you.
And then she rolls her eyes. I mean, it's edited, so we don't really know, but we could imagine that Stacy wouldn't have anything warm to say. Even just imagine that your partner says this to you with tears welling up in his eyes. You make me feel like I'm not. Now, if this was in the midst of like a really awful fight where he was being really awful and, like someone is berating you, like say, Izzy is just berating her, like, you dead, just putting her down. And then Stacy is like, I don't know if I want to be with you. And then Izzy says, sometimes you make me feel like I'm not good enough. In that moment, you're like, well, if you're in Stacy's shoes, you're thinking, well, I don't really have the energy to make you feel better in this moment because you just got done being horrible to me, right? That's not what we're seeing. So for him to say that, and for her to roll her eyes. Yikes. Now, there's a possibility that what's going on with her is that when she doesn't know what to do and she's at a crossroads, she shuts down and it results in her rolling her eyes and stonewalling-ish and seemingly being dismissive, but what's going on is something much more inside of her. It's still very, very hurtful, but it might not be volitional. But there's another world in which she's just like, well, yeah, I don't know. This is just how I feel, and you're having a feeling, you feel hurt. I don't really care. It comes across that way, right? That his feelings are hurt, and she doesn't care, like, at all. She's like upset. She's annoyed. She's bored. She's above it. She's just like, you're having hurt? What? Did
I have to let this go? I want all the stuff you promised me, where it's like, I'm that romantic guy, the rose petals, the bath when you get back, the candlelight, the home-cooked meal. And it feels like I'm trying to express myself and he's not having it because...
Okay, we get a little bit more specifics. So candlelight dinner, rose petals, bath. Okay. So it's all one directional, right? Oh, well, it is a mutual thing. So like I said, maybe there's some validity there, some reasonableness. I still don't think, even if that's true, that it deserves what just went down. But maybe that's true. Now, did she ask for it? We're not hearing that. We're not hearing her say, there was a day when I asked you to take a bath with me and you said no. There's a day when I said, hey, let's have a candlelight dinner tonight, and you said no. We're not hearing that. I'm getting the impression that they moved in together and they just went on with their lives, and she either is just making this up as an excuse to justify breaking up with him, or she was passively waiting for him to do something, which I could see, while giving him the message that she has disdain for him, and he's running around trying to accommodate her and not trying to bother her, which causes him not to feel like, I don't think she wants me to ask for her for a time together, a candlelight dinner. So I'm just going to stay out of her way. And then she's like quietly getting hurt because she's not initiating anything.
He's either afraid of what I'm going to say or he doesn't want to hear it. But I've been in here with the same time constraints that he's had. I've cooked, I've cleaned, so I'm really sick of the excuses. I have no question on me. I'm good. I've given.
So, the way she talks about... Now, there's a possibility that he's sexist and he thinks that she's supposed to do all the cleaning and the cooking. You know, that is a possibility. But the things she's identifying, right? She's not saying, I went to him to have a conversation and he shot me down. I went to cuddle with him and he shot me down. I asked him for a date night. And she's talking about like teenage stuff. Rose petals? I mean, who cares? In fact, a lot of times in these shows, like they have to do it on 90 Day Fiancé or Darcy and Stacy, the rose, I think it plays well for the camera. But to me, all I see is a mess I'm going to have to clean up, because those rose, that's organic material that you're going to find one of those petals underneath the bed like 5 years. It's going to be all moldy and stuff. Like, no. Plus, like the amount of labor that goes into like pulling all those things is probably super expensive too. Not for me. So my best hypothesis is what I said earlier, which is that she is insecure, and the way that she deals with it is by being this tough, mean person, dismissive, belittling person, which we've seen before, or at least I have. I don't know if you have. And she does want it to work out. Maybe she's a little conflicted, but in the pods, she let her guard down because there was so much love and it was so concentrated through the pods, and there weren't any distractions, and there were no markers of class that she's been brainwashed by. So she couldn't tell what class he was and where there wasn't this immediate nature of talking about money and houses and all that kind of stuff. They meet outside the pods, and suddenly all that starts to come back in, which starts to complicate things. But then she's, because if you look at all the things that they fought about, it points in the direction that she's insecure. They fought about the lost and found drawer, which we could imagine someone in her position being a little worried about that. So what does that mean? You're a player? Are you going to cheat on me? It's a natural thought. It's not really logical, but it's normal to think that way. And then with the plates, she said, so if I came over, would you treat me this way? Is this how you treat women? With the pod chick thing, it's like, so, she keys in on these things that I think are all hovering around that she's worried she's going to lose him, not consciously, but subconsciously, similar to JP, that he's giving a lot of signals that he doesn't like Taylor, but deep down, it's probably because he's terrified or very sure that he's going to be rejected, which in turn causes the rejection, right? So for Stacy, there's a lot of things pointing in that direction, that, you're really focusing on Johnny, and that's another indication that you really want to be with Johnny. And I don't think Izzy wants to be with Johnny. It doesn't seem likely. And then, of course, Izzy's on the other side of the system, and so he's going to be doing his defenses that I've already been over. They are living together. She is waiting for that special moment, that kind of indication, because she's more avoidant. She needs someone to chase her. She's hoping that that'll happen. It's not happening. What's happening? And he's getting the impression that she is not really she's a little prickly at times, and maybe after a couple of days, she's starting to be kind of snappy at him, and he's like, okay, I'm just going to stay out of her way. I'm just going to manage it. She seems like she doesn't want me around, so I'm going to prove to her that I care about her by avoiding her and accommodating her and trying to pick up around her and make her life okay. Because there's that, and then she's interpreting that like that he doesn't really love her, and she doesn't really identify with the tenderness inside of her. She's just like, very dismissive in her mind, and then we see this.
Really sick of the excuses. I have no question on me. I'm good. I've given. I have given. On and on and on once more. What is going on?
Can you please just get away?
Me? What do you want, Joe?
Okay, so then she, with her lapel mic, goes around the corner. It sounds like he doesn't have his lapel mic on anymore, because you can hear them cranking the gain when he is talking, because I think it's coming through her lapel mic. And it sounds like he's looks like she's in the bathroom, so maybe he's in the toilet room. It's kind of cool when in a hotel sometimes we'll have this where the toilet will be its own little closet. I don't know why. My grandparents had a house like that, and they had a phone with the toilet, like a rotary phone. So little did they know we'd all just be texting people on the phone or on the toilet. Anyway, so for her, she is like, I'm good. She walks in there, and he says, can you please just leave me alone? And then we hear a little bit of tenderness from her, I think is what we heard.
What is going on?
Can you please just get away?
Me? What do you want? Do you want me to get away?
I don't need anything. I'm good.
Why are you crying?
Okay, so he's crying, and she is surprised that he's crying. He was tearing up while you were talking to him earlier. He was pretty clear, like, wait, so you don't think I've done anything good? And he's crying, which is healthy for him to do. And then she says, why are you crying? But we're hearing a tone shift in her voice. It's not a great thing to say, why are you crying? It's nicer. There's a I think there's some care there, which is good. So maybe this is great. Maybe he cries. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And they hug and they can reconnect. I don't know. Let's see.
I don't feel like I'm good enough for you. I don't feel like anything I do, I feel like I could be the best person I could be, and I feel like I don't ever meet your expectation. I do my best to be patient.
Ugh, it just breaks your heart. It could be a distortion, but we could see that it is a reasonable reaction for Izzy, given what we've seen on camera from Stacy. So he's intoxicated, but I think it possibly is very rational what's happening for him right now, and a good move. You know, I often will tell clients to manage conflict. One of the best things you could do is cry in the middle of a fight, because it will, for one, just give you a chance to express and feel and be with your pain and worry. But also, we evolved to cry for a reason. Why in the world do we have water and snot and tears just shooting out of our face, out of every orifice, sometimes literally out of our mouths? We'll have, you'll see people drool sometimes when they're crying big time. But we also, our diaphragm will start to convulse like this. We won't be able to talk. Why do we do that? We do that for one reason, and that is to signal to those around us that we are in pain, such that they can take care of us. That's why we cry. All the other explanations on the internet are, in my opinion, just so stupid. People talk about like, well, it releases this neurochemical in your brain. It's like, no. There's a lot of ways for a body to dispose of a neurochemical that don't involve you not having the ability to see or breathe properly, or all the snot production. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's the way our face looks, and everything provokes empathy from other people. Why do babies do it? Why do adults do it? It's all to signal. It's a communication. We evolved clearly to not wait for us to notice our emotions and communicate them. We evolved to have an autonomic response in the same way that we laugh uncontrollably or we ball our hands up uncontrollably. We are signaling to other people what is going on in our hearts, in our emotions, so that other people can know and respond and care for us. 99% of the time in the past, we were around people that cared about us, our tribe, our family, our kin, and a part of survival, a very important key of our survival, since we're so social and we're so unable to protect ourselves in ways that other animals have superior qualities like fangs and claws and fast running and da-da-da. We evolved an even better mechanism, which is teamwork and communication and abstract thinking and the ability to think in the future, the ability to manipulate tools, and the ability to socialize, the ability to know what's going on inside someone's heart and to reach out to them and fix the problem and to bond and to work together. And so crying is a part of that. And so in conflict, if you can just cry, then the other person it'll provoke their empathy. So often, hopefully, so often. Now, some people will say, when I cry, my partner says, stop crying, and that I'm crying because I'm manipulating. Yeah, well, that's a problem. And that's why you need to be in couple therapy, because I can tell you to do all sorts of things, but if your partner isn't on board with it and they have their own traumas and their own relational traumas and their own brainwashing that they've been through, then I can't accommodate for that, obviously. And I'm not even suggesting that you can not go to therapy by watching this channel to begin with, right? But if you can say, when you start to cry and your partner says to you, stop crying, or you're just trying to manipulate, you can just keep saying, I'm just crying because I'm sad. It's key that when you have that feeling, even if you're not crying, you say, I'm sad. Here's what I say. I'll just tell you the version I say. I say, I'm crying and I feel really hurt by you right now. I don't know if it's me or you. It could be that I'm just distorting what's happening right now, that I'm looking at you through a certain lens. But I feel like you're being hurtful, and I also am not expecting you to fix it. I'm just having a feeling, and I guess I'm just hoping that you understand that I'm hurt, and that's it. I trust that we'll get our way through this. That's a very different communication than what some people will say. They'll be crying. They'll be like, you're a horrible person, and you never care about my feelings, and you are a jerk face. That will associate different things with tears. For some people, that's all they hear is crying and then an accusation. That they might have even got that from one of their parents, right? That when their parent would cry and say, "You're a terrible kid," that kind of thing. And so for those folks, they associate crying with a manipulation and accusation and guilt and shame. So you can erase that or correct for that or get out ahead of that by explaining why you're crying in a non-accusatory way, and you're tentatively concluding that the other person is being hurtful, but you don't really know if they're being hurtful because sometimes you can be too sensitive, as we all can be. That's what I say anyway. So for him, he's crying, and maybe it'll actually have that effect on their relationship.
Hi. There's always something, and I'm over it. I'm over it. I feel like there's always something, and I just can't do it anymore.
Okay, so we're hearing, with his intoxicated mind anyway, and his emotional state, he's saying that he doesn't think he can continue to do this relationship. Okay.
I don't want to talk about it right now. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, I was like, where's Stacy? Was she outside? So she went in there and was presumably being kind, not mean, and listening or something. And then he says, I don't want to talk about it anymore. And at least in the edit, then, she leaves. Okay. Yeah, it's not horrible. At least I'm guessing if there was something mean that she had done, they would have had it in the edit. So I'm guessing she listened, and it did provoke, at the very least, her out of that mode where she's just like, job done. I let him have it, and I don't care about his feelings, and moving on in life. She was not in that mode. She's sitting with him, seemingly. We didn't see it, but. And then as she's leaving, she leaves the door open. Was that as a way of, was that just like a mistake, or was that some way of trying to humiliate him? I don't know. I mean, it's certainly nothing humiliating about him crying and sitting in the closet. Although I wonder if people would see it that way. Hey, if you haven't had a good cry in your closet, it's a wonderful thing. I recommend it highly. I mean, I wouldn't fit in my closet because I have a bunch of stuff, but find your womb place, if you will, and fetal position up, get a nice warm blanket, your favorite slippers, and just have a good cry. So, something wrong with that. It's a very healthy thing. Anyway, but she left the door open. I don't know. It's just, let's rewind. I mean, she knows the cameras are right there, so she could have quickly turned around and just closed the door. And you just got to figure from where she would be coming from that it would be hard to intuit, like, well, he's probably in the closet because he doesn't want to be on camera when this is happening. So, I'll close the door, or I can close this door or something. And then we see him come out and he sees the camera and then he closes the bathroom door. I don't know. There's a lot of, check marks in the column of she, I don't know what to call it, mean. She's a blue meanie. She's a blonde meanie. Blue meanie from Yellow Submarine, the movie. Anyway, but what do we say about that? And I mean, it just looks that way, right? It just seems, callous. It seems to lack empathy. It seems to be hostile, unnecessary. There's a lot of coldness. I suspect that deep down, she's hurting quite a bit, but this is how she deals with it, and that's interesting to contemplate. And he's still kind of stumbling around, so I think the whole thing looks a little interesting. I'm sure he's not excited about that being on camera, like bawling your eyes out in the bathroom closet and then emerging and stumbling around. But it's fine. Nothing wrong with him having a couple of drinks. There's nothing, or more than a couple. There's nothing wrong with him crying in the closet, feeling small. He, if anyone's being healthy in this moment, it's based on the edit. there's nothing. It's a very healthy response. He had a very healthy his talk with Stacy. Unless there's something very strange happening away from the cameras, he's trying and it's not working out. I mean, do we believe that he's been putting effort into the relationship? Now, maybe it wasn't the right effort or something, and maybe he did make some mistakes, but the way that Stacy was talking to him, it's very, very hurtful. You know, he's basically learning this fact, or this seeming fact, that Stacy just doesn't really like him. I mean, even if you take away the criticism that she's saying, as he's starting to react, she just doesn't seem to care. Now, she did go into the closet, so maybe she did exhibit care. We don't know what happened in the closet, but anyway, it's a normal response. He starts to cry. He goes in the closet. He's had a couple of drinks. You know, there's nothing about his response that I would look at, from my perspective, as being a problem. Okay, let's adjourn there. Everyone, I want to remind you to please take care of yourself, truly, because you deserve it. You really, really do.